Hi everybody, now this is my Cannondale M2000 mountain bike that I bought probably over 25 years ago. Can't remember exactly when I got it. When I was a very fit young cycle mechanic for a certain national bike and car accessory retail chain. And I used to use this baby to, well, go off-road mountain biking. Used to use it to ride to work occasionally, but I got a specialised rock hopper as well. That was my main commuter. But this is where I wanted, to get like the bee's knees of mountain bikes. Cannondale, handmade in the USA, aluminium frame, very, very nice. Dior XT bits all over it. Shimano Dior XT. Very, very, very stiff. Great for off-road performance mountain bike. When you're going for it. Not particularly comfortable bike to ride. But these were kind of up there. If you wanted the best sort of rigid frames, Cannondales were there. So when you're young and you haven't got much money when you've got not many things to spend your money on apart from mountain bikes and going out drinking, then obviously I could afford a Cannondale. And I've kept it all these years because when would you ever have enough money to sort of splurge on something like that? I did the Manitou 5 forks, I think about 6 months after I bought it, to give it a bit of a softer front end, replacing the pepperonis. I've got the pepperonis somewhere. And anyway, the reason why I'm showing you this video is because it's kind of related to the Jocko Willink podcast, which I'm going to talk about shortly, which you're probably saying, wait, the title of this video is Jocko Willink's podcast review. Well, let me kind of take you on a path to that. So, the reason why I'm showing you this bicycle is because I've been using it to ride to work for the last few weeks, because I've been determined to regain some of my fitness. In fact, my goal is to get as fit as I was, well, as close to as fit as I was when I was 21. Now, I'm currently 46, which means I'm 47 this year. When I was 21, I would have had probably like a 30-inch waist. I don't know, weighed at probably about 11.5 stone. Used to cycle to work every day. Used to go out mountain biking on my days off, on the South Downs, Queen Elizabeth Country Park in Hampshire, all those sorts. Hampshire, I think, yeah, all over that sort of place. But over the years, led a much more sedentary lifestyle. I do like stuff around at work and get a bit sweaty, but don't do any serious exercise. So I've made a commitment to get fitter, for my sake, for my family's sake. And just generally to feel better about myself as well. And the Cannondale is part of this. The specialised rock upper was to start off with, but that's really done so many miles now that the drivetrain's had it. So I've been riding to work. Now, it's 10 miles to my work from where I live. 10 miles. So 10 miles each way, so it's 20 miles a day. Over a 5-day week, that's 100 miles with 1,400 feet worth of climbs on it as well. So you could say it's a bit of a workout. It takes me an hour. Now, I know you're probably looking at those knobbly tyres and thinking, Rob, for God's sake, get a racer with slick tyres, or put slick tyres on your mountain bike. Well, I'm not going to get a racer because I've got the Cannondale, and I do have slick tyres for this bike. But because the Cannondale uses 1.5 rims, and the 1.5 slicks are incredibly, why isn't that focusing? Are incredibly tight to put on. Which is fine when I'm at home or in a workshop, but if I was on the side of the road trying to fix a puncture in the rain, it wouldn't be very much fun at all. Whereas these folding tyres, these Kevlar beaded tyres, you can basically pull them off with your fingers. So if I do get a puncture at the side of the road, it's going to be fine and I can change them. And to be honest, as long as you pump them up to sort of 50, 60 psi, you can rock along pretty quick. So it's 2 hours a day, 100 miles a week. And I'm going to tell you, it's hard. It's very hard. It's very hard to get motivated to do it, especially when there's a nice warm car sitting there. And I've been doing this through some pretty bad weather, pretty cold weather. It's frosty when I go out in the morning, lots of wind, the occasional rain. But the main way that I've got through it and managed to power through riding to work and enjoying it is through listening to the Jocko Willink podcast. Now, Jocko is an ex-American Navy SEAL. And he has this podcast where him and his buddy, who isn't a Navy SEAL, which is nice because it's a good comparison between the two guys. They get on. There's kind of two sorts of podcasts. They have guests on where they talk in depth. We're talking hour and a half, 2 hour podcasts. about certain things, or they might well cover a book. So Jocko will read out for a book. Now, most of these podcasts, they're war related. But they're also motivational. That's the main thing about them, about overcoming the challenges in life, and how people can go through the absolute worst situations you can you can't even imagine, and yet keep on going. They can survive, and they come out the end humbled, and still able to function as human beings. And there's also lots of stories where people don't survive. Where obviously lots of war stories where soldiers are killed or they pass away. And it's very much in that vein of looking at the situations that these soldiers and these people have been in, or these guests have been in, and talking about them. And it really helps you to get your own life in perspective, and your own struggles and tribulations in perspective as well. And so what that means to me is that when I'm riding along on my Cannondale, and I'm halfway down the A27, and the wind is in my face, the rain is in my face, my legs are aching, and I'm thinking, why didn't I take the car? I've got Jocko talking about some poor soldier who's up to his knees in snow in the Korean peninsula fighting a rearguard action for the US Marines, or some poor fellow who's been horrifically injured in Iraq, but is now helping other veterans sort of survive and prosper in peacetime, and all sorts of things like that. There's hundreds of podcasts he's done, and I would say if you're doing anything that involves working out, where you need to listen to something for a fairly long period of time to keep going, Jocko Willink's podcast is definitely there. It's not militaristic, he's not a right wing. Well, he probably is a little bit of I guess he's probably more right wing than left when it comes to his political views, but he doesn't push any political views on the podcast. It's purely lots of motivational and learning stuff, and it's very, very good indeed. So it's a big thumbs up from me, and it has definitely helped me get through my 10-mile each way, 20-mile a day commute, to help me become a fitter and, you could say, kind of better person. Anyway, there we go. If you want a really motivational podcast to listen to, Jocko Willink's, I'll put the link in the YouTube notes down below. Check it out. If you've got any questions or comments about it, please put them in there as well. And thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.